or how on board with this is Sheriff Freeze?
Well, I think that, you know, the sheriff and the chief deputy, they would, I think if their very first choice would be to have a new facility. I think their second choice would be to move into the city-county building. And this choice of going into Renaissance, co-locating with Fort Wayne Police Department, is their, of those three, I'm sure it's the one that they're not the most favorable of. But to some degree, the county has been dealt a certain set of hands. And there's multiple options here. One, when we did the study back shortly after Tom Henry became mayor, he approached the sheriff and the commissioners about looking at a co-location study. Now that seems like ancient history at this point. That was in February of '07. We studied it through, actually it's February of '08. We studied that through September of '08 and couldn't come together on terms there. That's back when we talked about co-locating the sheriff in this building. With the city police now, and with the satellites. From there, we were in the process of trying to build and remodel add and remodel a building out on New Haven Avenue. I'll spit it out yet. And we couldn't come together with the guy that owned the corner on New Haven Avenue and Meyer Road. And it was going to take eminent domain, and it just got to be the point where it was just. The guy just did not want to sell that corner. So from there, then shortly after that, the city makes we start hearing basically the word was that Fort Wayne's going to move out of the city-county building. So that was going to leave us with this big deficit of the shared cost that the city of Fort Wayne pays for the city-county building. So it put us somewhat into a holding pattern again, and it takes time to do the research and the due diligence that Fort Wayne did, and they had to take the time to do that. And then they made the decision to move. So when we had a definitive decision to move from the city, that's when things kind of changed. All of a sudden the county was looking at this significant deficit in income with a building that was going to be more than half vacant. We were put in a position where we were going to have to try to take apart some of our existing facilities that are outside of the city-county building and bring them in the building. Some of them have been newly remodeled. There's some that would be easier than others to bring into this building. And that's when we thought, you know, maybe we should go back to this proposal of co-location, which everybody was on board with when they were all coming in the city-county building. So that's when we got back with the mayor and put together and said we would like to propose this, the co-location over at the Renaissance Square, where we'd have public safety there, and then also the city, one of the key things they need with the new stormwater ordinance and the CSO work, that they needed more elbow room and more space for their city utilities planners. That was a big part of what the city needed more space for. So that was a key piece in the whole evolution of this, and so we got real busy when this mayor said, okay, we'll wait, we'll give you time. It wasn't a lot of time, but a lot of this research had been done. I mean, the Renaissance building had been looked at. Our space studies for the sheriff's needs had been done at multiple locations in the past. I think there's almost a legacy to that at this point. So here we are, and we were able to get things put together in short order, and I'll have to say Scott Harold and Mark Royce did a really good job, and those guys are real pros and deserve a lot of credit. And Commissioner Bloom, you know, had a lot of knowledge about the needs and the space location. And Commissioner Peters, I think everybody knows he's a pretty sharp guy when it comes to many things, and one of them is the whole concept of number crunching. So we had a good plan that we came together with quick on it. So
okay.
I don't know if I answered your question or not.
I think the question was how on board with it is Sheriff Freeze.
Yeah, and I think early on it's probably his third choice, and I don't think he's. But it's office space, and once we get we do have another issue with, and it would have been an issue in this building also, the city-county building, is some big equipment that has to be stored. There's a multi-agency emergency vehicle, and there's some SWAT equipment that needs to be stored, and that's going to have a spot figured out to put that.
So when you talk about moving the sheriff down to the Renaissance Square building, are we just talking about what's at Kidder Road right now, or are we talking about some other subdivisions as well?
Well, at this point, there's a drug task force that won't move in to the Renaissance building. There's a, it's really what's out of Kidder.
Mhm.
That's what'll move.
Okay.
Because, and I think this is important for people to know, the sheriff already has a presence in the city-county building, in the courthouse. That's where his office are. That's where, there's a pretty good contingent of police officers over there at this point. And there's also the jail, which is, with all the confinement officers, et cetera. And constitutionally, the sheriff is charged with servicing the courts and running the jail. So he's out there, delivering warrants and all that. So they're a busy department.
So let's say that everything implodes and the city goes ahead, they purchase Renaissance Square, they move out, leave you, vacate the building, leave you kind of hanging with empty space. What are the effects on that, not only on Allen County taxpayers, but on the city of Fort Wayne taxpayers? Because we all pay Allen County taxes. So what kind of effects are we talking about for everybody?
Well, what it does, it creates this long-term deficit it should be short-term deficit for Allen County government, and it's funded with the Allen County taxpayers, of course, and of that approximately $1.2 million. What we will do at that point, because we have multiple plans, we have a plan if we co-locate, if we have this joint ownership piece. We have a plan if the city decides to reject our proposal and move on their own to Renaissance with administrative and basically split up the administrative in the city-county building. And we have a plan if the city basically decides to not buy Renaissance and put their police department somewhere else. So specifically, if we talk about if the city moves out, what we will do at that point is we have some divisions. We've had some preliminary conversation with the Judge Feltz and Jerry Noble, Tim Miller, about moving some of the operations in what's called the annex into the city-county building, and that needs to have some security issues plugged into it. I mean, we just can't have folks that are on probation walking in and out freely. So we'd have to have an area where there'd be a checkpoint similar to what's over at the courthouse, built into this building. So we'd have to figure out where that would be. Everybody likes first floor locations, but more than likely, although none of this is cast in stone, more than likely we'd need to go to the west side for that. And like I said, this is just not cast in stone, but some of my conversations with these guys that run those departments, the segments of Allen County government, they need to be able to check people in. And that could happen. We have a joint IT contractor, Atos. They need more space. It could stand more space by utilization in this building. We currently house them in a property we own off of Wallace Street. And that's not a lot of space, about 4,000 square feet, but that could also come into the building. And that may very well happen regardless. I mean, those things are gonna. Now, to fill up some of the other vacancies, there's some other things we could do, building department, highway, some of those, but those are freshly remodeled buildings and very convenient at this point to not only the taxpayers that come in for various services, but also to various contractors and things like that. So we'd like to stay away from that. The prosecutor is one that we just feel is off the table. That's not going to happen.